Hello my friends, how are you? I hope you are doing great. Welcome into another YouTube video. So my friends, in this YouTube video we're gonna dive into one of the most important things that I have witnessed the majority of people are neglecting, which is sleeping. So that's what I have got, my friends, from today's reading chapter, from my today's reading session, or I should have said, this is the chapter that I have tackled. It covered or it encompassed the importance of sleep and what is the consequences that we might have if we underestimate the importance of sleep. So my friends, as usual, we're gonna start this English session by having a conversation with my teacher, and then my friends, I will share with him what I have got from today's reading session, and he will correct all the mistakes that I have committed. So without further ado, my friends, let's jump into it. Hello teacher, how are you? I hope you are doing great. So teacher, I've just finished my reading session, and as usual I will share with you what I have got from it so we can dive into a speaking practice regarding what I shared with you. And today's reading session, it was really dense of knowledge, and it had covered one of the most important things in our life that the majority of people started downplaying or underestimating. And tell me, teacher, either I have used here downplaying to mean not prioritizing or not like treating seriously, which is sleeping. And teacher, I have read this chapter from the book that I'm still reading, which is Essentialism. And another thing, teacher, that I would like to share with you is that I started reading every chapter at least twice. That's what really enabled me to understand this chapter much more profoundly and to provide you with a much better explanation after I finish it. Because if I go through a chapter just once, that the majority of the time I end up forgetting all the things that I have got, and I don't have a good understanding of it when I finish it.
Hello, Ismail. I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. And it's always good to hear from you. So, first, absolutely, you've used the word downplaying correctly. It's perfect to say that people are downplaying or underestimating the importance of something like sleep, which means they're not treating it as seriously as they should. So, you hit the nail on the head with that one. And it's fantastic that you're reading each chapter twice. That's a really thorough technique. It definitely helps you lock in the details and understand them more deeply. And I can already tell it's working because you're explaining things more confidently each time. So let's dive into that speaking practice whenever you're ready, and we'll build on what you've taken away from your reading today.
Okay, so teacher, let's jump into the speaking practice. So, what I have understood, teacher, or picked up from my today's reading session is really a lot, but we're gonna start by the story of a person who had really underestimated the importance of sleeping, but he had learned or understand it the hard way. And teacher, I have used here the hard way to mean like by because teacher, there is some people who really like get lessons the hard way, and teacher, like the most clever people who truly like try to understand these lessons based on other people by trying to avoid them or dodge them. So what do you think, teacher, about my use of the hard way here? Is it correct?
Absolutely, Ismail. You've used the hard way perfectly. It means exactly what you described, learning through tough or challenging experiences rather than just taking someone else's advice or avoiding the mistake in the first place. So you've nailed that usage. And I think your reflection is spot on. The idea that the clever folks try to learn from others' experiences so they can sidestep those pitfalls is a really wise takeaway. It's like you're saying the best lessons can come from watching and learning rather than always having to stumble yourself. So great job weaving that idea in. Now let's keep going with the speaking practice, and I'll guide you to use some more vocabulary as we chat.
Okay, thank you very much, teacher. I really appreciate your help. So, teacher, now I'm going to provide you with what I have got from this story. But firstly, I will lay on you the story first and foremost. The story it was of a person who was an overachiever. This person, he wanted really to have a high contribution in the world. But unfortunately, as this person, he had his company offices like spread it in all throughout the world. He was required to keep flying from one part into another, and that had really impacted his sleep dramatically. And for he like this person, one day he realized that whenever he get to sleep, he felt that as though something gets exploded in his mind. He felt really overwhelmed and burned out and unable even to get up from his bed. At first, this person he thought that this was due to the malaria treatment he get in India, but in the next day he had faced the same symptoms. So he went to the doctors to check in, and the doctors he mentioned that he need to to resign from his job because he had really burned out, or he had really become very exhausted. So he need to recover. He need to stay at bed all throughout the day. But this person he told boastfully to this doctor and with confidence that he will require just 2 weeks to recover and to fully rejuvenate. But during these 2 weeks, this person he was sleeping more than 40 minutes. But despite that, he still felt the same dreadful feelings of exhaustion, tiredness, and lack of energy. So he crawled back to the doctors and he admitted to them and that he need much more time to fully recover. So he went back, he resigned from his company, and he no longer uh, attended any meetings, just to focus on his treatment, and he adopted a new routine. He flied into his family in French, in where he started a new life. So in where he focused just on recovering, he had get rid of everything that is really stressful and make him anxious. And after he get invited into a leadership conference or something like that, and one of the people there they knew very well his story, and they urged him to share with them the lessons that he had learned in from his very bad experience. And he told them that he had learned the hard way that in order to maintain a good energy and keep contributing to the world and remain highly energetic and alert is to take care of the asset. So, what do you think, teacher, about this story that I have just provided to you, and where the author had opened this chapter about sleep?
That was an excellent retelling, Ismail, and you did a fantastic job summarizing the main points of the story. You've woven in the idea of learning things the hard way very naturally, and it makes perfect sense in this context. So definitely your usage is spot on. I love how you laid out the progression of the story too. How this overachiever had to slow down, eventually recognize the importance of rest, and then share that wisdom with others. It's a great lesson on valuing sleep as an essential part of maintaining energy and contribution. So from here, let's just flow into a bit of conversation practice. Maybe we can role play a little scenario where someone asks for advice on balancing a busy life. And I'll guide you to use some of the vocabulary naturally as we go along. Sound good?
Yeah, that really sounds great, teacher. Let's do that.
Absolutely. Let's dive in. So imagine you're chatting with a friend who's juggling a really hectic schedule and they're starting to feel that exhaustion creeping in. They might say something like, I'm just so overwhelmed lately and I feel like I'm running on empty all the time. And that's your cue to jump in with some of the insights from the story you just told me. You can share how important it is to take care of
Okay,
themselves.
so teacher, here is what I will tell this person that he's feeling overwhelmed, exhausted, and not being productive all throughout his day. I will simply tell him that he need to check either he's scheduling 8 hours of sleep in his day, because if he's not doing that, I'm sure that this is the root of his problem. And if he started prioritizing his sleep, he will be startled and astonished and amazed of how productive and energetic he will be. Because I think, teacher, what I have got from the book is that the majority of people nowadays, like this overachiever, successful people, they they think that if they don't sleep for 1 hour, they will add this 1 hour into their schedule for working. While they don't know is that if they decrease their 1 hour, it will influence or impact their focus and their concentration. And they end up just like losing their focus constantly throughout their while they are working. And teacher, I have realized that when I get the full 8 hours of sleep every day, I feel much more sharper and alert, and I'm able to tackle problems much more creatively and easily. Well, teacher, what I've understand in this chapter is that the majority of successful entrepreneurs, such as Bill Gates, he mentioned that when he gets the full 8 hours of sleep each night, he is much more focused on tackling the problem of his company. So, teacher, we can say that really sleep has huge impact on us, and we should really interpret sleep as not a waste of time, but rather something that will enable us to recharge, to increase our focus and productivity. Because I witness daily that the majority of people who underestimate the importance of sleep, they are living as zombies. They are just drifting. They are unable to make to prioritize their life and to discern or distinguish the essential things from non-essential things, and like that, teacher, which lead them to failure. And teacher, the majority of people, unfortunately, they learn these lessons the hard way, because like sleep deprivation or a lack of sleep, it lead them to chronic disease, and the majority of the time to heart disease. And another thing that I will provide to this person, so to urge him to start prioritizing his sleep, is that the the impact or the dreadful influence that alcohol has on our body has the same impact if we don't prioritize our sleep. And like that's what I will tell my friend. And if his schedule, teacher, like I'm a bit confused regarding the pronunciation of the word schedule and schedule, because there is some people who pronounce it as schedule and there is some others who pronounce it as schedule. So which pronunciation do you think is best and common? So now let's resume our the advice that I was giving to my friend, and I will tell him that if his like day is clogged with tasks and he's very busy, he can incorporate a nap. And that's what Google is doing. They are setting a nap pads for people just to show them the importance of taking a nap and how it helped them to recover. So what do you think, teacher, about this piece of advice that I've provided to my friends? And as usual, I would like for me to correct it and enhance it to sound much more fluent and eloquent.
Absolutely, as well. And you did a fantastic job sharing all that advice. Let me address the little pronunciation note first. In American English, it's typically pronounced schedule, while in British English, it's more often schedule. Both are completely correct. It just depends on which style you're more comfortable with. So feel free to use whichever one you prefer. Now let me enhance and polish your advice a bit to make it flow more fluently and sound eloquent. Sure, so I tell this friend that if they're feeling constantly overwhelmed and exhausted, the first thing to check is whether they're actually giving themselves a full 8 hours of sleep. If they're skimping on sleep, that's likely the root cause of their struggles. And once they start prioritizing it, they'll be astonished at how much more focused, energetic, and productive they become. I'd explain that many successful people mistakenly think that skipping an hour of sleep just gives them more time to work. But in reality, that lost hour can hurt their focus and concentration, making them far less effective. I share my own experience. When I consistently get a full night's rest, I feel sharper and more creative and can solve problems more easily. Even entrepreneurs like Bill Gates have emphasized how vital those 8 hours are for staying on top of their game. So really, sleep isn't a waste of time. It's the key to recharging and maintaining productivity. Without it, people end up like zombies, unable to distinguish what really matters. And unfortunately, a lot of them learn that lesson the hard way when they face burnout or health issues. Also mentioned if their schedule is really packed, adding a short nap can make a big difference. Companies like Google even provide nap pods to highlight how beneficial a quick rest can be. So that will be my advice to them. Prioritize sleep like any other essential task, and they'll see a huge improvement in how they feel and perform. So there you go. I've just, smoothed it out a bit and made it a little more polished. You did a fantastic job, and this is really strong advice to share.
Thank you very much, Isra. I really appreciate your help and the way you have corrected my piece of advice. So, teacher, I think that is all what I have got from today's reading session. It was really, teacher, I was already aware of the importance of sleeping because, teacher, whenever I I feel just 6 hours, whenever I sleep just 6 hours or 5 hours, I feel dizziness all throughout the day, and when I stand up very very quickly, I feel like I'm going to black out. I feel that my heart rate increases without any reason, and all these things is I can attribute them into a lack of sleep. I think, teacher, I haven't used here the word attributed correctly because the word attributed, we use it usually to link things that lead us to success or to achieve good things. I should have said that all these problems they can be linked to sleep deprivation or lack of sleep. And teacher, I wish if all people are aware of of these facts of how sleep can really impact their life very badly and dreadfully, and they throughout the day they can, like, they feel dizziness, they feel that they are to black out, and they feel that they are always angry, anxious, and stressed, always or constantly teetered between two decisions. And teacher, when I take a full, uh, when I sleep for like 8 hours, I'm able to juggle numerous tasks. I'm able to think much more critically and perfectly, and all I attribute all of that to good night's sleep. And teacher, I'm planning to read another book which is called Why We Sleep. I think it is much more focused, and it is packed with research and experiments that shed light on the importance of sleep.
Absolutely, Ismail. And you're spot on with your reflections here. First, just a quick note on the word attribute. You can definitely use it in this context too. You're basically saying you attribute feeling dizzy or almost blacking out to a lack of sleep. That's completely fine and actually a pretty natural way to phrase it. So you used it correctly there. And I love that you're connecting all these dots. It's really clear that you understand how important sleep is, and you've got personal experiences that show how much better you function when you're well vested. So you can have share that wisdom with others. And reading Why We Sleep sounds like a fantastic next step. It's definitely a book packed with a lot of research and insights that will deepen your understanding even further. So great job today. Keep building on what you learned, and I'm always here to help you polish things up or dive into new topics.
So, my friends, I have just finished having a conversation with my teacher about the importance of sleep and why we should consider sleep or treat it as a paramount. Because, my friends, the majority of people the non-essentialists who see that sleep is just for losers or failure, or see sleep as just a waste of time, I think they are mostly the people who struggle and feel frustrated all throughout their day. So, my friends, I highly encourage you, or I highly recommend to go and just read this chapter from the book Essentialism about sleep. It is really a great chapter uh, that will enable you to think differently about sleep as something that is just a luxury, or something that is just an additional. It is not essential, as something that you must do every night and prioritize it, and really, like, sleep 8 hours and you will see astonishing results either in your performance, in your like focus, and the way you become creative. Okay, so now, my friends, we're gonna move into reviewing some Anki flashcard, because as you know, my friends, it is very essential to expand our vocabulary, to learn, expand our vocabulary in order to speak fluently and flawlessly. So now, my friends, that's what we're gonna do, is to expand our vocabulary by practicing this vocabulary in real life scenarios and in a lot of things. So without further ado, let's dive into it. Hello Hello, teacher. Now let's move into the second part of our English session, which consists of reviewing some Anki flashcard. So the first word that we're gonna tackle today, teacher, which is lambasted. I think, teacher, that the meaning of the word lambasted is a person, not in person. I think the meaning of lambasted is when we criticize a person harshly or badly, especially publicly. So, as I provided teacher with some sentences using the word lambasted, for example, I can say that it is very bad to lambaste our children publicly because that really influences their self-esteem and their self-confidence. Another sentence teacher using the word lambast, for example, let's imagine that the CEO of a company always lambasts their employees publicly, which impact very badly their performance on work. So, what do you think, teacher, about my use of the word lambasted? Do you think that it is sound and now have good understanding of it? And after you correct, teacher, the sentences, the meaning that I've provided you using this word, it would be really great if we jump into an opposing debate to practice this word further.
Absolutely, Esmail. You've got a really solid grasp of the word lambaste. You've used it perfectly in those sentences, and your understanding is spot on. It does mean to criticize someone harshly, especially in a public or very severe way. So both your example sentences are great. For instance, saying that lambasting children publicly can hurt their self-esteem is a perfect and very natural way to use it. And the same goes for the example about a CEO who lambastes employees and how that would affect their performance. So you've definitely got a good understanding of it. Now let's jump into that opposing debate scenario to practice it. I'll set the scene. Imagine you're in a workplace discussion and we're talking about whether it's ever okay for a manager to strongly criticize an employee in front of others. You can take the position that it's generally not a good idea to lambaste someone publicly.
Okay, teacher, let's do that, teacher. And I've already anticipated that you're going to provide me with this opposing debate. So I think that for a manager, they should not choose to lambaste their their employees publicly, and they should rather choose or opt to do that privately. Like if uh, if an employee have done something badly or he had boasted a job, I don't know, teacher, either I have used here boasted a project because I think the word boasted it means to do something badly or not skillfully. If you had boasted a project that is very vital for the growth of the company, the manager he could ask this employee to come into his office and he could lambaste him like privately, that it will be really better. It will not influence his productivity, and I think this is the right choice that the manager can take if he want to criticize or lambaste an employee.
That's a great stance, man, and you argued it really well. Just a quick note, the word you were looking for is probably botched, which means to do something badly or mess it up. So you could say if the employee botched an important project, the manager should call them in privately rather than lambaste them in front of others. But everything else you said is spot on. So let's do a little back and forth. I'll take the opposing side for the sake of practice and say something like, well, I think that in certain situations, a public reprimand can set an example and make it clear to the whole team that certain standards have to be met. Sometimes a little public lambasting might be a wake-up call for everyone to stay on their toes. And then you could respond to that and we'll keep the debate rolling.
Yeah, I think teacher, like occasionally it will be much more better for the manager to lambaste. Yeah, you know, teacher, I have been mispronouncing the word lambasted. I think it is pronounced lambasted. I think it will be better to lambaste these employees publicly, because that it will be also a direct or indirect message for other employees that if they have done the same mistake, they will get the same lambaste and also privately. So I think this will urge or this lambaste, this public lambastement, it will urge the employees to make a better working much more better, and to avoid like boasting, not boasting, I think, teacher, this is the right word, but boasting or something like that.
Absolutely. You caught that little pronunciation detail correctly. It's lambaste with that softer ending sound. And you did a great job jumping into the other side of the argument. You make a good point that a public lambasting could serve as a warning to others and might motivate everyone to avoid similar mistakes. Now, let me just polish that up a tiny bit for fluency. You could say, well, occasionally it might actually be more effective for a manager to lambaste an employee publicly. It sends a clear message to everyone else that the same mistake won't be tolerated, and it might push everyone to be more careful. So in that sense, a public lambasting might actually improve the overall quality of work. You're doing a fantastic job exploring both sides. This kind of practice is a great way to get comfortable using the word lambaste naturally.
Okay, my friends, here we have a picture that visualize or depict the word lambasted, and I think it encompasses a person who is lambasted his employee, and just through his facial expression and his hand gestures, he looks that he's lambasted his employee because he has botched the project or something like that. And it seems that this person is very embarrassed by this lambastement. And my friends, his colleagues, especially the one on the left, he he has the impression that he's empathizing with him. He feels deep sorrowness and regret because his colleague is being lambasted in front of him. So, my friends, like if you want really to lambaste a person or to criticize him, it will be much more better to do that privately. Okay, now teacher, let's move to another word which is doomed. Teacher, I think that the meaning of the word doomed, which is something that is inevitable to fail or to die. For example, let's imagine a person who is not treating his education seriously. He's being lazy all throughout the day. I can say that this person is doomed to failure. So I have used here, teacher, the word doomed to anticipate the failure of this person because I've been able to predict his future just through his action. So what do you think, teacher, about my use doomed here in that context? Another sentence using the word doomed, for example, I can say that teacher, this is the only sentence that I'm able to that I have that I'm able to craft using the word doom. So now, teacher, I would like to have a back and forth conversation where you're gonna prompt me to use the word doom naturally. So assign to me a character to practice the word.
Absolutely, Ismail. You've nailed the meaning of doom there. It does indeed mean something is destined to fail or meet a negative end, and your example of someone being doomed to failure because they're neglecting their education is a perfect way to use it. That's a very natural context. Now let's do a little role play to help you use the word doomed in a conversation. I'll assign you a character. Let's say you're an advisor in a small business, and you're talking to a friend who wants to launch a new product without any market research or planning. We might want to use the word doomed to warn them that if they go ahead blindly, the product could be doomed to fail. So go ahead and step into that role, and let's see how you naturally use doomed in that scenario.
Teacher, this is a really great scenario to practice the word doomed because, teacher, I think that if a person try to launch a product into the market without any marketing research or any advertisement, I think that this product is doomed to fail because it will not be spotted or it will not be appealing for customers. So this product is doomed to fail. So I have used here, teacher, the word doomed to mean that this product is inevitable, that it will fail if the manager or the owner of this product, it doesn't consider uh, like advertisement, market research, and trying to make this product much more appealing. So what do you think, teacher, about my use of the word doomed here to convey that it is this this product is prone to fail if like it didn't get advertised?
You used doomed perfectly there, Ismail. That was a really natural and clear way to convey that idea. You explain that if someone launches a product without doing any research or promotion, it's basically doomed to fail because it won't attract customers. That's exactly how you'd use the word. In fact, your explanation was really smooth. You made it clear that the lack of preparation makes failure almost inevitable. So well done. Let's definitely consider that word unlocked for you. You've got a strong handle on it. And if you want to tackle another word or keep going with more scenarios, just let me know.
Okay, teacher, let's move now into the story technique. You told me a story, and then I'm required to add some additional plots or scenes to the story while using the word doomed. And also, I think that this method is also enjoyable and valuable for practicing words.
Absolutely. Let's do that. It's a fun and creative way to practice. So I'll spin you a little story, and then you can jump in and add some twists using the word doomed. Here we go. Once upon a time, there was a small coastal village that relied entirely on fishing. The villagers had always had abundant fish, but in recent years, the fish started to disappear. Despite warnings from the village elders, the younger fishermen kept taking more than they needed, and they never let the ocean rest. Now, the village is on the brink of a crisis. The elders say that if things don't change, the village is doomed to run out of food and fade away. So that's your starting point. Feel free to jump in, add some new scenes or twists, and use doom to describe what might happen or how they could avoid that doom. Let's see
Teacher,
where you
I
take it.
think you didn't get what I intended from this strategy very well. Teacher, you should have just provided me with the story, and then it is like I should have used the word doomed, not you. So, teacher, provide me with this story and let me use the word and add some additional twists and some additional plots to the story.
Ah, got it. Thanks for clarifying, Ismail. I'll step back and just set up the story for you, and then you can run with it. So here's your story prompt. In a distant kingdom, there was a once glorious castle, perched on a cliff overlooking the sea. For centuries, the castle had been a symbol of strength and prosperity. But now the kingdom is facing dark times. The crops are failing, the people are worried, and a mysterious rumor is spreading that the castle itself might soon crumble into the sea. And now it's over to you. Add your twists, use the word doomed where it fits, and have fun weaving the next part of the tale.
Teacher, this is really a great story. I think the story involved like a castle who was really a symbol of power, as you have mentioned, and prosperity. But unfortunately, like they faced drought or something like that, which had really like been which had been considered as the turning point of this castle because the crops they no longer succeed and the people they have started starving and they no longer live in good situation. I think that I think the life in this kingdom they might face a lot of challenges. It will be doomed to fail if they don't try to like seek help from other countries. So what do you think, teacher, about my use of the word doomed here? Do you think that is correct? But I think it sounds a bit grammatically awkward or incorrect.
You did really well, Ismail. You used doomed exactly as intended. You described that the kingdom might be doomed to fail if they don't seek help, and that's a perfect and natural way to put it. It doesn't sound awkward at all. It's actually a great fit for the scenario you're building on. You could say something like, I think the kingdom is doomed unless they find a way to get help from other lands, because otherwise the castle's strength and prosperity will just fade away. And that's pretty much what you've done. So you've absolutely used it correctly. Great job weaving that into the story, and feel free to let me know if you want to practice another word or keep going.
Okay, so now my friends, I'll provide you with a description for this image that involves a sail. That is like a sail, not a sail, but rather a ship that is sailing in a very harsh condition because there is a lot of intense waves. And I can say that if teacher, I think it will be better to provide this description to my teacher so he can fine tune it and correct it. So I will start now record what the description of this ship. Okay, now teacher, I'll provide you with a description of a ship, a description of image that depict or illustrate or describe the word doomed. So I can say it is a ship that is sailing in hard conditions because the waves are ferocious and very intense, and I can say that the ship is doomed to sink if the ocean doesn't stabilize, and if these waves remain like very strong, this ship is doomed to sink. And what do you think, teacher, about my use of the word doomed here? Teacher, I think that the the people who are sailing this ship, they are very spooked and they feel very anxious and afraid because it is very hard. Like if I really put myself in their shoes, I will inevitably feel afraid and anxious. And the sky is very dark and cloudy. Okay, so now, teacher, we're gonna move into another word, which is damping. So I think, teacher, that the meaning of the word, I think that that damping, it has two meanings, depend on the context in where it is embedded. Firstly, damping, it means throwing some trash, and also damping, it means to sell goods at a fairly low price. So, teacher, I can say that people, they should not dump their trash recklessly or haphazardly. I don't know, teacher, the reviews here haphazardly to mean randomly, like with whenever they like. So, teacher, one day a person, he was walking and he passed by me, and I have saw him. I have saw that he dumped something on the ground, and I have asked him gently to not throw or dump the wrapping of the biscuit in the street, because that really spoil and ruin the beauty of our country. But he didn't, like, I think that my advices had fallen on a deaf ears, and he didn't treat them seriously, and he just kept it there, and he didn't throw it, and he hadn't throw it in his proper or dedicated place, which is a rubbish bin or something like that. So another sentence, teacher, using the word damping, for example, I can say that teacher, the people who dump products, which means sell them at an unfairly low price, that impact usually the competitors, because it become required also to lower or decrease their prices, so it can reach the price of the company who is dumping their products when they are providing the same services. Teacher, I think that the last sentence that provided you using the word dumping doesn't sound really like great, and so teacher, enhance it for me, and then we can have a back an opposing debate, or whatever you choose, whatever strategy you choose to practice the word dumping.
Absolutely, Ismail. I'd be happy to enhance that for you. So, dumping can indeed have two meanings, depending on the context. The first meaning is about throwing trash or waste, and the second meaning is selling goods at an unfairly low price. For example, people really shouldn't dump their trash recklessly or haphazardly. And yes, haphazardly is a perfect word to mean randomly or carelessly. For instance, one day I saw someone just dump a biscuit wrapper on the ground, and I gently asked him not to do that because it ruins the beauty of our surroundings. Unfortunately, my advice fell on deaf ears, and he didn't bother to throw it in a proper trash bin. Now, in the context of selling goods, dumping means selling products at a very low price that undercuts the competition. For example, if a company dumps its products on the market, selling them much cheaper than everyone else, it forces other businesses to lower the prices too just to compete. That can really impact those competitors' profits. And polish bridge in your last sentence. So for the last example, you could say, when companies engage in dumping, meaning they sell their products at extremely low prices, it pressures other businesses to reduce the prices as well. This practice can disrupt the market and create an unfair advantage. Now let me polish it up. Let's dive into a stare to practice it. We can do an opposing debate or any other method you prefer. Let me know what you're in the mood for.
Okay, teacher, let's move into an opposing debate to practice the word dumping further and to lock it into my memory.
Absolutely. Let's jump right into that opposing debate. I'll take one side and you can take the other. Imagine we're in a town hall meeting discussing whether a local company should be allowed to sell its products at extremely low prices. Basically, whether dumping should be considered acceptable. I'll argue that dumping has negative consequences and should be restricted. Your role will be to argue that sometimes dumping can actually benefit consumers or the local economy. Feel free to use the word dumping as you explain your side. So let's begin.
Teacher, I'm not, I don't know really, teacher, the consequences of dumping product, which means to sell them at very low price. But the majority of the time, if products, they are about to reach their not expedition date but rather I should have is their like expansion date, not expansion. Teacher, I have this word in the tip of my tongue, but I'm unable to recall it. So please, teacher, can you tell me what is this word like? What I intend by this word? not what I intend by this word, but I should have said this word it describe like the date at which a product it become not allowed to eat it.
Absolutely, I get what you mean. The word you're looking for is expiration date. That's a term we use for the date after which a product is no longer good to use or safe to consume. And you're doing great, Ismail. So if a product is close to its expiration date, companies might dump it at a very low price to sell it quickly. You can definitely use that idea in your argument.
Yeah,
Keep going.
I want that's what I really intended to say. So, teacher, if a product is about to reach its expiration date, I think that companies it will be better to dump this product because either they will sell it at very low price and or it will not be suitable to be or it will not or they will unable to sell it, so it will be really beneficial to dump it instead of keeping it on their shelves. So what do you think, teacher, about my use of the word dumping and why companies they should dump their products if they are about to reach the expiration date?
That's exactly spot on, Ismail. You use dumping really well in that context. You argued that if a product is nearing its expiration date, it's actually sensible for a company to dump it at a low price rather than let it go to waste. And that's a really good justification for why sometimes dumping can make sense from a business perspective. So you nailed it. If you want, we can continue with another word, or if you feel confident about dumping, we can move on to whatever you'd like next.